Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik, Voss, and Agatha all along finally confirmed a ton of mysteries as we shift gears to the end game of the series with a mid-season trailer confirming Teen as Billy Maximoff, Wiccan with an origin story tied to the events of WandaVision, and revelatory interviews from Joe Locke and series creator Jack Schaefer that answer a ton of questions and now has us asking the right questions. I'm gonna break down everything we just learned and who this mystery bucket hat wearer could be. Now, we're gonna have a busy week here at New Rockstars, so just to break down a slate of what you can expect from this channel this week. Wednesday night around 8 or 9 p.m. Pacific time, after Agatha episode 6 drops on Disney+, we will be back with another late night reaction video here on the New Rockstars channel. Now, Jessica will be at New York Comic Con this week, but Gina Ippolito is gonna be sitting in. Then Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific time on the Break Room channel, our live stream panel discussion and audience Q&A for Agatha episode 6 will be happening with Brandon, Zach, Gina, and myself as early in the day as we can. Back here on the New Rockstars channel will be my in-depth Easter egg analysis and breakdown of episode 6 of Agatha. Then Saturday, we're aiming to finally upload our Rings of Power season 2 breakdown here on New Rockstars. Then Sunday on New Rockstars, our weekly sneak peek show where we will look ahead to Agatha episode 7, which Joe Locke says is the best of the season. Now, since Jessica will be out, Brandon will be sitting in with me for sneak peek. And then Monday on New Rockstars is going to be my breakdown for The Penguin episode 5. And that show has been awesome. Watch Jessica's breakdown of the incredible 4th episode currently on the channel now. Okay, let's get into this Agatha mid-season trailer. There are actually like 4 chunks of it that we're gonna have to analyze frame by frame. So let's dive into that first chunk.
What does Billy Maximoff want at the end of the road?
Power doesn't interest me. I want something else, something more.
All right, so it's confirmed Joe Locke's character is Wiccan, and this clip and Marvel's social media clarifies that he is Billy Maximoff. That's interesting. Catherine Hahn's audio, when she says Maximoff, sounds a little extra.
What does Billy Maximoff want?
It almost sounds like Catherine Hahn is doing her evil rasp that she used at the end of episode 5.
Are you sure?
And you'll notice in this shot, Agatha is covered in mud. So presumably she makes it through Billy's submerging of her at the end of episode 5. Later in this trailer, we actually see Jen and Lilia similarly muddy in this interesting subterranean location. So maybe Billy actually did sink them through that mud just to get them to the next part of the road, whatever that is. But by naming him Billy Maximoff, they're clarifying that this version of Billy is meant to be Wanda's son. Agatha told him last episode,
You're so much like your mother.
And of course, there is the similarity of the crown designs. And they even had Joe Locke work with Jennifer White, the movement coach who helped Elizabeth Olsen create the hand gestures for Wanda's witchcraft and Avengers Age of Ultron. Joe Locke told Entertainment Weekly that Billy blasting Lilia and Jen off the Witch's Road at the end of episode 5 was meant to emulate Wanda's arm gesture in Age of Ultron. Locke even said, quote, in the script, it was written as, with a familiar looking hand gesture, Teen swipes Agatha off the road. In this all-encompassing Entertainment Weekly interview, which was published on the Monday after episode 5, so Marvel Studios wanted them to hold it until then when this big reveal would be happening. Marvel is now making it official to all press outlets, quote, he is actually Billy, the grown-up son of Elizabeth Olsen's Wanda Maximoff / Scarlet Witch, and the super teen known as Wiccan in Marvel Comics. The young Julian Hilliard played Kid Billy in WandaVision. Joe Locke said in his interview that the image of Wanda's crown is stitched onto Billy's sweater, but it's on the back of the sweater. And so far in episodes, we have not really had a chance to see it. That back has always been covered by a hoodie, at least until the end of episode 4, and then we never really saw the back of it. Only in this shot from the D23 trailer from an upcoming episode do we see the back of it, and it's really just too low res to make out any shape of Wanda's crown. But I believe them. Joe Locke told Entertainment Weekly that Marvel Studios gave him the omnibus of Wiccan from the Young Avengers comics and the Children's Crusade, and it sounds like the studio is going to be mostly consistent with the character's backstory as a kid who was born genealogically to Rebecca Kaplan and a Jeff Kaplan, but is actually the reincarnated soul of Billy Maximoff, Wiccan, one of Wanda Maximoff's twins, inheriting her witchcraft powers. Now, Julian Hilliard, who played the younger Billy in WandaVision and in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, tweeted support of Joe Locke after episode 5 aired. And by him tweeting that, I think it kind of sounds like one actor is passing the torch to the other actor, and that there is a very clear link between these characters, and that they might even be the same soul. It sounds like Marvel Studios is streamlining the complicated Wiccan backstory from the comics comics, in which he was initially one of Wanda and Vision's twins in the West Coast Avengers storyline, revealed to be a master pandemonium puppet and also a piece of Mephisto's soul, and then a fragment scattered into the multiverse via Reed Richards, and then later a memory of sorts sought after by Wanda during the House of M storyline, and then finally reincarnated into Billy Kaplan and Young Avengers. Yeah, it sounds kind of messy, right? And I think instead the cinematic universe is suggesting that as WandaVision came to an end and Wanda's hex over Westview was beginning to collapse when the Billy and Tommy that were created by Wanda were sleeping in their beds, the soul, I guess you could call it, of Billy that Wanda created in that hex floated over and attached to the closest thing in this 616 universe to Wanda's son that it could find, teen Billy Kaplan of Eastview. And while that was 3 years ago, I think Wanda's more recent departure in Multiverse Madness influenced everything this kid is now doing on this show. But you may ask, connecting Billy's origin to the events of WandaVision, doesn't that make it seem like Wanda a year later in Multiverse of Madness might have been searching the multiverse looking for her kids without realizing a piece of the kid she was looking for, Billy, was right here in Eastview? Remember there was this line in Multiverse of Madness, and I think it was one of my favorite lines from the movie.
I'm going to leave this reality and go to one where I can be with my children.
So your children aren't real. You created them using magic.
That's what every mother does.
So based on that, whether or not Wanda realizes it, that same magic could have reconceived Billy Maximoff in the form of this goth teen in Eastview. Maybe also the sigil could have blinded Wanda from recognizing this connection. Jack Schaefer actually confirmed in an interview with The Wrap that the sigil over Billy's mouth is now gone. She would not confirm how long Agatha has known that teen is Billy, but it would seem to me that him shouting "Nicholas Scratch" is what broke that sigil. Joe Locke also indicated to Entertainment Weekly that he has been playing in the gray area and that his character has been lying to Agatha and that the fanboy teen that we have been seeing all this time has been a bit of a facade. He said, "We know that he's been lying to her and we play a lot with those dynamics of how duplicitous he is. The facade of the fanboy teen, is that completely fake or is that actually still a real part of him? This is the stuff I found so interesting in playing him." Now in our episode 5 breakdown, I pointed out how the 3 trials we have seen so far, it is always Billy who finds the clue, the welcome card, the play me record, and the Ouija board. And it's possible that this entire version of the road has been Billy's design. This trailer clip shows close-ups of Billy's hand drawing a chalk circle on the floor in the flaming wick of a black candle, which lines up with a preseason TikTok promo shot of Billy from overhead as a blue pentagram glows on the floor beneath him, and his hands are glowing with the blue sorcery in this shot as well, the same kind that we saw him firing up at the end of episode 5. I think this is the door leading to the Witch's Road in Agatha's basement. It was previously traced by Billy, and that's why that door did not open at the end of the witches singing the Ballad of the Witch's Road in episode 2. It opened when Billy ran downstairs to join them. So this trailer poses the question, what does Billy, Wiccan, the son of Wanda Maximoff, want from the Witch's Road? He says it's not power, it's something more than power. But what is more than power? The only thing more is just existence, life itself. Life is the opposite of what death brings. And I think his goal is to resurrect the life of Wanda Maximoff. In Multiverse of Madness, the Darkhold Temple atop Mount Wundagore not only had a statue of the Scarlet Witch, but also a statue of Wiccan. I think, therefore, it is part of the Scarlet Witch's destiny to have a son, Wiccan, who could resurrect her. I think it could be Agatha's whole arc on the series to redeem her betrayal of her own son, Nicholas Scratch, by helping her opponent's son, Billy Maximoff, overcome death, death being her ex-lover, to free the soul of her enemy, the Scarlet Witch. I think that is the begrudging sacrifice Agatha must make to get her powers back, ultimately. And that's why it looks like in all this trailer footage, it's going to be a final battle between Agatha and death. What will be at stake is the life of the Scarlet Witch. Thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. There's a big misconception about therapy out there that scares people away from it, and it's that therapy might only be for people with chronic mental illness, but that's just not true. Therapy is a tool everybody can use for personal growth, to get help solving problems, or to just have a safe space to talk to someone you trust. BetterHelp is on a mission to make starting therapy easier. It's a platform where therapists and their clients can communicate effectively so you can get the most out of therapy. Starting therapy is easy with BetterHelp. Fill out a questionnaire and you will match with a therapist in as little as a couple days. They carefully make sure their therapists on the platform are well qualified, and their customer support team is there to help you if you have any questions. If the first therapist doesn't feel like the right fit, you can easily switch to another one until you find someone you really connect with. BetterHelp also provides a journal for personal reflection, plus group sessions on a variety of topics are available every day. Users love BetterHelp. They have over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot. If you're struggling and think you'd benefit from a therapy session, click the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/newrockstars and get 10% off your first month of therapy. Now, Joe Locke has told Entertainment Weekly that he has not met Elizabeth Olsen, so I'm assuming that they didn't actually shoot any scenes together for Agatha. Then again, Elizabeth Olsen told Vanity Fair's lie detector video interview after Multiverse of Madness that she never met John Krasinski, despite the two of them appearing in a scene together in Multiverse of Madness.
You don't know him at all?
I don't think so. No, I've never met him.
You were in the same movie.
I've never met him.
She's coming out truthful.
Never met him.
This tells us that Marvel Studios has shot scenes with characters together despite the actors not appearing on set on the same day. All that said, I'm still not expecting Lizzie Olsen to appear on this show. But we end this chunk with what is becoming the most curious shots remaining from the trailer footage to not appear in an episode yet. This metallic purple lit room with this clock configuration above their heads and Agatha placing her hands on Billy's head. I'm pretty sure this is a morgue because there was another behind the scenes shot of one of these drawers opening up and an early trailer shot of Agatha actually in a body bag in one of those drawers. We've seen this room with the roof caving in. I think this could actually be the Earth trial, and the giant clock on the ceiling is the countdown clock that's been in every single one of these trials. And I think this is going to be the process of resurrecting Wanda from the piece of her that is attached to Billy's soul. Because in episode 1, there was a morgue. It was supposed to be Wanda's body on the gurney of that morgue. And I think we're gonna come full circle and just resurrect Wanda. Okay, let's move on to the second chunk.
The only danger to us in this trial is Agatha Harkness.
I do not trust you.
You're so much like your mother. Mom!
Feels like there's a story there.
Wow, so it looks like our speculation from past breakdowns was accurate. The shot in the closing credits of Joe Locke's name appearing over a newspaper headline, Near Death in Eastview, dated December 2023, plus Agnes theorizing about a car accident in Eastview back in episode 1, these were pointing to Billy's origin. Billy's birth mother, we think Rebecca Kaplan, seems to be driving past a sign for Eastview right as the Westview hex is condensing during the events of the WandaVision finale. A truck veers onto the wrong side of the road, which is interesting. I'll come back to that. And Rebecca has to swerve and the car slams into a tree. And notice it hits the back left seat right where Billy was sitting in that back seat. So this should have been fatal for him. A near-death incident, you could say. But maybe in this moment, Billy Maximoff from within the hex as it was collapsing, transported into this dying 13-year-old and spared him from death. In episode 3, Billy told Alice that everything started happening for him when he was 13, and this must have been that incident. Now, Agnes had told Agent Vidal in episode 1 that her Eastview car accident that she was investigating had a blood stain in the backseat and in the front 2 airbags deploying. And she was thinking like, oh, 2 perps must have moved the body. But we don't see anyone in the front passenger seat of this car. I mean, maybe Jeff Kaplan is leaning forward, or maybe like Mephisto was taking the wheel. But again, more on that in a bit. We should also note that 13-year-old Billy here does not seem to be in a goth phase yet. He's wearing a white collared shirt. He kind of looks like he's on his way to a church youth group meeting. So it could be that the very goth aspect of Billy's identity could just be how Wanda's magic manifested in him. All right, let's move on.
Ready for fireworks! Get ready for spectacle!
In the end, all roads lead to me.
Okay, this shot of Agatha shouting, "Get ready for fireworks!" is one of these post-mud submerging moments from a future episode I talked about. And here you can actually see both Billy and Jen behind her. So they're gonna get out of the mud at some point. I think it's gonna come either at the end of episode 6 or maybe the beginning of episode 7, but first we need Billy's origin story. And I think that's gonna be most of episode 6. Synced with Agatha saying fireworks, there's a shot of Rio holding her dagger as sparks explode in Agatha's backyard. This is the Agatha versus Rio battle that we keep seeing different angles of, with a green color tone across the sky, like when the window glass shatters, and also this new shot of Agatha's feet being dragged across the yard and vines grabbing her wrist, vines I assume being controlled by the Green Witch. Also a later shot of Agatha dodging something smashing out of her house, and this shot of Rio stepping outside saying, "In the end, all roads lead to me." And after episodes 4 and 5, we're pretty certain that Rio is Mistress Death, and this is just yet another clue, like all roads lead to death, right? Also later on at the end of the trailer, we see Rio laughing perched atop Agatha's house with the green sky behind her. Maybe my eyes are deceiving me, but doesn't it look like something other than her leg is under the bottom part of her dress? Like, what is that? Is that a body? Is it just like a mermaid tail? It's very weird. But moving on in this chunk, there's an overhead shot of 4 witches trying to blast Agatha that we've seen in other trailers before, but she's converting their sorcery into a purple color and draining their magic. Now, we know this must be from the Victorian era based on what Agatha is wearing at the end of this transfer, but within the context of the editing of this moment, it matches with this new shot where Agatha seems to be wearing a costume we haven't seen in any other trailer shot before, a studded leather jacket with a beaded necklace and dark red lipstick. I think this might be inspired by the 1996 film The Craft, because we know The Craft had a big influence on this series. They used shots from The Craft in the closing credits, but other than like some of the stunts that Rio Vidal was doing in the episode 1 fight, we haven't seen really any other episode or trial that uses these costumes that much. So based on that, I've been wondering if there might be one other trial that we haven't seen footage of in trailers, and this might be it. Then there's this shot. Oh boy, a mystery figure facing away from us wearing a bucket hat in a parking garage with dark curly hair beneath that hat. Who is this guy? And why is this trailer even showing us a mystery figure? They want us to wonder. Some are speculating this could be the Doctor who tried to drown Jennifer Kale, whom Jen saw in her vision in episode 3, who called her an inconvenient woman, whom we later learned was part of a Boston area association of obstetricians who trapped the witch root worker and midwife Jennifer, leaving her bound sometime in the early 20th century. I still have a lot of questions about that guy and how exactly Jen got trapped and bound and what that really means for her, but I don't think this guy is the Doctor. This is definitely in the modern era, not in the early 20th century. Sure, maybe by taking her power, this guy could have lived that long, but also that actor was Scott Butler, and he does not have that same kind of hair. He has much straighter hair, and it's a lot shorter. It wouldn't poke out from under a hat like this. This also doesn't really match the hair or the body of Dennis the Delivery Guy, who had that creepy, unexplained bookcase moment in episode 1, or the long-lost beekeeper from WandaVision. I don't think we're ever going to see that guy again, guys. So I hate that I'm even bringing this up, but we have to consider the possibility that this is Sacha Baron Cohen as Mephisto. I know, don't get mad at me. It's just that the hair matches, so do the lanky shoulders. I pointed out in past videos that every episode's end titles include 2 unoccupied title slides. One for the pentagram over the town of Westview, and one with the girl with the witch mask. They might be saving a spot or 2 for an additional big name cast member cameo. Those of you who are playing Fortnite are blowing up my mentions that Marvel unveiled a new Mephisto skin this month, which is a very big deal because in the past, I guess Kevin Feige has indicated cross-promotional releases between Fortnite characters and characters' arrivals in the MCU. And that, you know, we got a big Doctor Doom thing this year preceding Marvel's big announcement at Comic-Con. I don't know if there's anything to that. But there was also Evanora Harkness's line in episode 5 that Agatha was born evil and that she wished she had killed her the moment she left her body, which some have been using to speculate that Agatha could like be the daughter of Mephisto, because how else would just a sweet innocent baby be born evil? We're talking like a Rosemary's Baby scenario there. And some have been pointing out the date of October 13th, the date W. Maximoff appears next to on the library card. That apparently is Sacha Baron Cohen's birthday. I think people just put that together because it was his birthday this past Sunday. And of course, let's not forget Jennifer Kale name dropped Mephisto on the show, speculating that Agatha's son, Nicholas Scratch, could be an agent of Mephisto. Now, I don't think that's going to be the case for Nicholas Scratch on this show. Maybe it will be, we don't know. But the fact that we heard the name Mephisto on this show, he was named, tells us that Mephisto was at least on the writers' minds, unlike the case in WandaVision. So I've said it once and I'll say it again, I do not need Mephisto to cameo in this show, especially if it's just going to set up a role in Ironheart that, as of now, doesn't really seem to make narrative sense to me. Like, I don't think the Hood needs Mephisto as a source of his magic. That's just me. But one detail I have to point out here that I find really interesting about this shot of Bucket Hat Guy, in this dark parking garage, there is one vehicle parked and it looks like a pickup truck. Could this be the same Dodge truck that seems to be a red color that runs Billy and his mom off the road? I'm just asking you, just think about it, okay? All right, let's move on to the final chunk.
This can end right here, right now. Will Agatha Harkness finally meet her end?
All right, we're seeing a few more shots of Lilia's trial that I cannot wait for. It looks like the Salem 7 are going to confront them in this tower where swords are falling around a tarot card table. And yes, Lilia will be dressed as Glinda the Good Witch from The Wizard of Oz, and Agatha as the Wicked Witch of the West, and then Jennifer Kale as the evil witch queen from Snow White. And now it is confirmed that Billy will be there too as Maleficent from Sleeping Beauty. Next, there's a shot of Alice as a hand caresses her face. Jack Schaefer confirmed in an interview with The Wrap that Alice is dead, but that it's not the end of the conversation. I assume that hand belongs to Rio Vidal, who must have stayed behind in episode 5, perhaps to claim Alice's body. If she is Mistress Death, that would be her function. But notice how the finger has a black fingertip, so it may be someone using the Darkhold. We should also note that Alice is back to wearing her Hot Topic clothes that she was wearing when she first went down to the road, not the 80s outfit that she dyed in the cabin, and she no longer looks strained. Her face is back to being full. So maybe this isn't a body being claimed, but a body being brought back to life. This could be coming at the end of the season, and all the witches who died along the road are being restored by Agatha as part of her redemption. Then again, based off of Jack Schaefer's interview, I don't think she's that interested in redemption. I think she's okay with all these witches being backstabbing and mean, and not forgetting the fact that they are villains. But I think one of the most interesting things about Schaefer's interview with The Wrap is that she said that the cabin trial was indeed Agatha's trial, that the writers thought that the most tortuous experience for Agatha would be a slumber party, and that the objective of this trial was to punish Agatha. And since she was sufficiently tortured with the memory of her long and gone son, Nicholas Scratch, she passed that trial and the exit was opened. Schaefer said that, defying the water, fire, earth, and air structure of the ballad, because she didn't want to make it too much like Avatar: The Last Airbender, Agatha is what Schaefer calls the spirit witch of the coven, and that while the set design details of the cabin were 80s horror movie inspired, that there were other elements beneath the surface. She said, and there's also a kind of ramshackle vibe to this cabin because she has such a long history, and so the production design of the space is really fun because it's a real mixed bag. Like at first glance, it looks 80s, but if you sort of poke around, there's much more there. So I had to go back and look at the design of this cabin. And yeah, beneath all the 80s movie references, there are some inconsistencies, you could say. Like on one hand, it's definitely an 80s suburban basement, right? It's where you would have a slumber party. But it's also like a woodsy cabin, or maybe even a tree house, because it has multiple tree trunks growing through it. The windows are all twisted, and there's old-timey lanterns hanging around. And if it is a tree house, why does the exit go up? Especially when the past 2 trials had exits that took the witches further down. I think the reason this place was so triggering for Agatha is that this was the home she lived in the Salem area with Evanora and with Nicholas Scratch. In fact, if you go back and look at all the settings for trials, they could have all been redecorated versions of the homes those target witches lived in. Jennifer Kale says that she was a Boston area midwife, and that house didn't look like a Martha's Vineyard style beach mansion. Alice's trial looks like it took place in the type of home her mother, Lorna Wu, would live in, a recording studio with instruments everywhere. The tower that we're going to see with the Lilia episode could be a castle that Lilia Calderu lived in, which brings us back to the morgue, which could be metaphorically the home or resting place of Billy Maximoff if he is a part of Wanda's soul. Like we might come full circle with that crime scene Jane Doe and finally see whose face that is. It could be Joe Locke's face after all, because Billy Kaplan was supposed to die in that car accident, but he was revitalized by a piece of Wanda's magic, the soul of Billy Maximoff from the Westview Hex, resurrecting him as Wiccan. Comment down below with your thoughts. Follow me at EA Voss and subscribe to all 3 channels in the new Rockstars network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.